Information partner InfoExon Technologies, and of course thanking our AI partner Capture CX, our Insights partner TransUnion Sibyl, and internship partner as Sprint. Well, today's summit, ladies and gentlemen, brings together an extraordinary gathering of policy makers, regulators, insurers, technology innovators, our startups, investors, and ecosystem leaders who are truly united by a common vision that is shaping the future of insurance. With that, it is now my privilege to invite our esteemed dignitaries to the stage for the traditional lamplight ceremony. Well, as Gautam Buddha has rightly said that if you light a lamp for others, it will also brighten your path. So let us begin this day with the auspicious lamplight ceremony. And to do the honors, first up, I'd like to invite towards the lamp on stage. Please put your hands together. With exceptional honor, I invite to the stage Shri Vivek Chandra Verma, Deputy Director General, UIDAI. Can we have a big round of applause as he joins us? I'd also like to invite the leadership team from Digital Fifth to join us as dignitaries for the lamplight ceremony as well. Please put our hands together for our dignitaries joining us for the lamplight ceremony. I'd also like to invite Shri Suresh Mahalingam, Chairperson of the Board Aviva India, to join us as well for the lamplight. Also inviting Shri Praveen Chaudhary, Director Aadhaar Usage Division, UIDAI, to join us as well. May I also please invite Shri Pramod Kumar, Chief Digital Officer, LIC, to join us for the lamplight ceremony. Also inviting Shri Lokesh Thakur, Deputy Director General, UIDAI, to join us for the lamplight ceremony. Well, let us give a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, because this is what we really call as an auspicious beginning to a day that truly looks insightful, a day that promises to be extraordinary for all the insurance leaders, our fintech regulators, and policymakers right here. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause to all our dignitaries for joining us in. And as the lamp is lit, I'm sure it has truly set the tone to a very, very positive and an insightful day ahead. So thank you to our dignitaries for joining us in. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as India continues to build one of the world's most advanced digital public infrastructure ecosystems, trusted digital identity has become a cornerstone of secure, inclusive, and seamless service delivery. And for the insurance industries, these innovations represent tremendous opportunities to enhance onboarding, improve customer convenience, and strengthen fraud prevention. Well, that is where we're now about to have the inaugural keynote address. And with distinguished honor, it is my privilege to invite to the podium. Please put your hands together as we are now about to hear from our industry veteran, from a dignitary himself. Please put your hands together as I extend a very warm welcome to Shri Vivek Chandra Verma, Deputy Director General, Unique Identification Authority of India, for his keynote address. Let's put our hands together as he joins us. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Over to you.
So, very good morning. First of all, I must thank Digital Fifth and the entire team for inviting me here on this special gathering for me, for a collection of such a great people, the business of whom is probably understood to much lesser number of people. It's a difficult insurance, as I was just having a discussion. And the understanding is further less. So I am coming from UIDAI, maybe all of you are having Aadhaar, maybe in your pockets in some form. Let's hope that gradually the physical form of Aadhaar will leave your pockets and wallets, and it will start coming in everybody's mobile phone in the digital form. So as you know, everything is digital, the country is moving digital, the world is moving digital, so the identity has moved digital. Aadhaar, we as a country, if you see, we have definitely seen a growth in digital transformations in the form of fintechs, UPI. We all are using UPI with so much of confidence that we think just it's the most secure part anywhere in the world to use. Everybody is having mobile phones in their pockets, at times maybe more than one. Now there is something called Jam Trinity, which is Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and mobile, which has led to a very big transformation of this country. Jan Dhan is those Jan Dhan accounts which were opened. Means the amount which is available in Jan Dhan accounts will be beyond somebody's imagination, though we thought these are the people who doesn't have that power of money. It is in several $billion, which is deposited in these accounts all across the country. But the basis and the foundation of the entire thing has always been the identity, and all these things have been made possible because of the digital identity which everybody is able to show and prove today to anywhere they want to. And that is what Aadhaar gave them. Before Aadhaar, I don't know if somebody of you may be knowing that around 250 to 300 million people were there without any identity whatsoever. There was no identity. For the governance, for the fintech, for the banks, these people just not existed. There was nothing for them to prove that they are someone. When the Aadhaar was conceived, the whole idea was to bring each and every person identity. They have to be identified. Their whatever status you want to understand, the social status, educational status, economic status, let them first have a name which is there in the records. It was not there. And that is where the entire population started coming into the governance structure of the entire country. And that is where the country started actually understanding the pain points of the country which was called poverty. It was told that this country has a lot of poverty. But poverty was not there because people were not available in our records. And that is where we started the journey. And over this period of maybe around 16 years, 17 years now, we'll be completing 17 years of the issuance of first Aadhaar in September this year. This period is something where now everywhere you go, the act says that Aadhaar is not mandatory. Anywhere you go, the person will insist on Aadhaar. Somehow, that is the trust which has developed in Aadhaar. If you want to give some other identity document, no, show me your Aadhaar. But that is the faith. It's purely a faith. Aadhaar can also, in its paper form, can be equally defrauded as any other document. If you are taking it in a paper format without digitally verifying it. You are supposed to digitally verify it. Aadhaar has been a digital identity. It's not supposed to be a card. So that is how Aadhaar evolved. Gradually people are understanding Now, as some of you might be having Aadhaar app here, which has been launched recently, and the way it is gaining popularity all across the strata of society, nearing 4 crores downloads in about 3 months, 4 months' time. It is providing a lot of services as well. But the biggest service, and which is much more relevant for the people sitting here, is the offline verification seeking entity. So, offline verification means we should understand one thing which is called verified credentials first. Verified credential has been introduced by UIDAI for the first time in the country. And this is where each and every element of your identity, that is Aadhaar, is independently verified, secured. Even if you try to transfer your simply date of birth, itself is securely verified. If somebody wants to see your date of birth only, irrespective of what is your name, say for example you are entering a concert where an adult requirement is there, you can share just your age status more than 18, and that is all. They are not bothered who is entering, whether Vivek is entering or XY is entering, it doesn't matter to them. Why to share everything? It is consent based, it is need to know basis, but that information which is going to the individual independently is also secured, verified and traceable. It goes with the e-signature. It can be verified using the public key. So the entire information, partial information, whatever is required is done. Now what is the benefit for the entire community sitting here? We all are going to face, including us, the DPDP rules which are coming. DPDP rules have been notified, they will come into force very shortly. Now DPDP rule says minimization of data. You should have, as a data fiduciary, you should have only that much of data which is essentially required by you for that purpose for which you are taking that data. And identity data is included. So if you don't want so much of the identity data, you take whatever is the minimum data requirement from the Aadhaar number user. You will have much lesser data to manage. You will have easier compliances because it is very strict in the compliance part, DPDP Act, up to 250 crores of penalty or something for certain penalty for against violations. So you minimize the data which you receive. Why that concert person or maybe a picture or a movie with an adult tag should try to maintain a data that which person went inside? I don't know, I'm not bothered. Everybody who went inside was an adult, that is the assurance which I am having, and this is the data here. So you are getting minimum data. As a data fiduciary, the compliance is easier. And you are getting this data in a digital form, which is verifiable at any time when you want. So tomorrow if you come across something that this data seems to be false, it can be tracked back. Sorry, it is from UIDAI database. So that is the confidence you have on whatever data you are receiving. Right now, when you go for the physical identity systems, you have a complete paraphernalia at the back end which will actually verify that photocopy from some original database of that entity to verify whether this identity which was given, and you will ask the customer to come after 1 day or 2 days. It's not required now. It has become like telecom people. You put a thumb, you get the SIM activated in 30 minutes. If you give me paper, please wait for 48 hours. So that is how this system is going to bring a change. And there is a complete ecosystem of offline verification seeking entity which is developed. And now we'll, I think, have a separate discussion and a panel on this. This is insurance, for insurance sector, this is going to be a game changer. You can very easily become OVSC in 1 day time. Technical integration is 5-6 hours time. And you can make your use cases and start using it. You will start getting the digital data into your databases of identity verification. This is going to change the game of insurance sector for identity, which is a foundation of insurance. Because you have to know the people who are coming for doing insurance. You have to understand and identify positively the persons who are coming for claims, the nominees, the relatives, whosoever they are coming. With these transactions, I hope it's going to help you out. And the way I can see, it's a great event which Digital Fifth is actually trying to address the insurance sector, which actually needs maybe some transformations, innovations and energy. During these discussions today, we'll be coming across certain discussions which are being introduced as new innovations, new developments and futuristic areas. And I hope sincerely this event remains a very big success and everybody has some takeaways at the end of the event. So thanks a lot and all the best for the event and the organizers and each and every participant for coming here for this event in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Can we have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, one more time for Shri Vivek Chandra sir. Thank you so very much. So you mentioned 17 years. I'm sure there has been a massive transformation and how Aadhaar has truly brought in that revolution. So thank you once again, sir, for joining us in. With that, we'd like to felicitate you with a memento, a token of appreciation. May I please invite on stage Mr. Samir Singh Jaini, founder and CEO at the Digital Fifth, to please join us and felicitate Shri Vivek Chandra sir with a memento, a token of appreciation. Can we have a louder round of applause one more time? Well, indeed, 17 years of this massive transformation and how really Aadhaar has created new opportunities for innovation, inclusion, and of course, trust across financial services. And like just sir mentioned, that Aadhaar is not just a card, but it is about trust. It is about the digital identity. So thank you once again, sir, for joining us in. Thank you. Okay, from that, ladies and gentlemen, that was an absolutely forward-looking perspective shared right there with us from Shri Vivek Chandra sir. Once again, sir, thank you for joining us in. With that, we now move forward to our next address for today. Well, you would agree with me when I say that the insurance industry today stands at an inflection point. Rapid advances in artificial intelligence, evolving customer expectations, emerging digital ecosystem, and changing risk landscapes are redefining how insurers create value. And navigating this transformation requires visionary leadership and a clear strategic direction. It is now my privilege to invite a distinguished industry leader whose experience has helped shape business transformation across financial services sector. Please put your hands together as I invite on stage Mr. Suresh Mahalingam, Chairperson of the Board, Aviva India, for his keynote address. Let's give a huge round of applause as he joins us. So we truly look forward to your address. Over to you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I was at the same summit last year and the topic was something different. And this year, the topic in terms of insurance and an inflection point. as I was preparing for this presentation, I asked myself, what is it that I can probably add differently in terms of how we understand insurance and how we could take insurance to the next decade of growth. And so therefore, I deliberately put on not the hat of an MD or a CEO of the past, but I put myself in the hat of interacting with multiple leaders in the insurance industry as well as multiple other industries, putting my hat of a coach that I currently do with many CEOs and CXOs. And then I reflected, whilst I sit on the boards of two large insurance companies, one in the healthcare, which is CARE, and I'm the chairperson of Aviva. I asked myself, what is it that I can actually contribute in these boards to look at taking insurance to the next level of growth? And so today's narrative that I might play around may not necessarily be things that you really want to hear, but actually try and bring in some qualitative perspectives in terms of how we view insurance industry, and therefore how can we take the insurance industry to the next decade of growth. Right? So that's the new perspective that I'm trying to bring in from my presentation to you today. Now the next decade will not be remembered as the decade when insurance became digital, right? Everybody is now talking digital, everybody is talking technology, right? And it's good to know all these things, and it's good to understand that these things are important. It is actually about how the insurance industry can become a multiplier of India's growth, right? And that is what is relevant. And when we talk about a developed nation, right, and what enables a nation to grow, the terminologies that we get to hear is infrastructure, right? And when we say infrastructure, we are talking about roads and how great roads India has produced. We're talking about airports and the number of airports that are proliferating. We're talking about ports. We're talking about the digital public infrastructure, and you just heard Sharma speaking about it in terms of what it could do to transform. We're talking about UPI, we're talking about ONDC, we're talking about AI, we're talking about manufacturing, we're talking about semiconductors, all very, very important in terms of how country grows. But I think today I like to suggest something different, yeah? That every great nation is actually built on another kind of infrastructure, one that is largely invisible from the space of this industry, and which is possibly what I call the confidence infrastructure, right? When I talk about the confidence infrastructure, I'm talking about the confidence infrastructure. And why do I say that? I say that because before any entrepreneur in this country invests, before a family buys his first home, before a young couple decide to educate the child abroad, or before an MSME, which is again a flavor of the nation, expands into a new market, and before a company commits X number of crores for capital expenditure for a new factory, there is one silent question. If something goes wrong, will I recover? Right? If something goes wrong, will I recover? So every economy grows because millions of people decide that the future is worth betting on. Insurance makes those great things possible. Perhaps we have underestimated our own industry, right? We talk about growth all the time. We talk about premium growth all the time. Perhaps we're not merely underwriting risk, right? Perhaps we are underwriting what I call confidence. It's the ability for people to understand that insurance can make a difference in my life, in my organization's life, in my other spheres of life. And therefore, this aspect of confidence, now what is Aadhaar? Again, from a perspective, when you look at Aadhaar and the way he explained just a little while ago, the underlining factor that has become a symbol of confidence, a symbol of trust. And that is what I think the insurance industry needs to start looking at. And confidence may well become India's greatest growth multiplier. And I'll expand on it as we go forward. So the conversation that I would like to have today, and what the real inflection point is possibly emanating from these aspects of what I call confidence. The title of today's summit is all about inflection point, right? Most people immediately think of artificial intelligence or Gen AI or digital ecosystems. I see the inflection point differently. Okay, and now this might come as a surprise to you because this is an Insurtech summit. We are talking technology, we are talking digital, we are talking about insurance industry, we are talking about insurance industry inflection point, right? Technology is not the inflection point, right? Might surprise you. For me, technology is the accelerator. Yeah, technology is the accelerator. The real inflection point is that for decades our industry has responded to economic growth. Today, as an insurance industry, after so many years of privatization, obviously we had LIC, which was been there for times immemorial. Today we have the opportunity to shape economic growth that is a complete different responsibility. As against enabling, we are shaping. And therefore, the relevance of insurance industry needs to be understood from that perspective. You often hear this narrative of Vikasit Bharat, and we should be a 30 trillion economy by 2047, by the end of when we have a centenary. If India is serious about becoming a Vikasit Bharat, insurance cannot remain a sector. It has to become an enabler, and therefore that changes the very conversation as to how do we look at growing this industry. Yeah. Now, when you hear economists, right, economists speak about productive capacity, manufacturing capacity, infrastructure capacity, energy capacity. I think it's time for us to think about also speaking about insurance capacity, and therefore the terminology in terms of insurance capacity is because we can create something equally big, and that is the reason why how do we take the insurance in reflection of the inflection point, or how do we enable growth, and therefore I term it the growth capacity. Right? Now, what is growth capacity? It's nice to use lovely words, beautiful terminologies. Where is the relevance? Where is the connection? How do we see the connection? I'm used to hearing premium growth and so on and so forth. What is this growth capacity? When you look at the national figures, insurance is still, as a percentage of GDP, under 3% and has been like that for so many years. And yet we are saying we are at an inflection point and we want to grow. So growth capacity is a nation's ability to take productive risks, right? And unless and until you don't take those productive risks, you're not going to grow. I'm not talking about reckless risks. I'm talking about productive risks. So the confidence to innovate, the confidence to invest, the confidence to expand, right? And the ability to recover if you fail and begin again. And that is when insurance becomes relevant. As long as people understand this well across the multiple ecosystems that we are talking about, that is what insurance can create. And I think it's important for us to look at our measurable factors in the insurance industry and the role that we play in the insurance industry to make this happen for expansion to grow. And that, to my mind, is growth capacity. Now, for all this, what is required is confidence, because without confidence, and in the era of uncertainty, you need that confidence to grow. I think we have spent decades describing ourselves as a protection industry from either it's life, whether it's general, whether it's health. We describe ourselves as a protection industry. And we also know statistically that a bulk of our populations are still not protected adequately enough. And therefore, you see the thrust and the impetus in terms of pushing products of, which have a protection in nature. Perhaps it is time we begin thinking ourselves not as a protection industry, but ourselves as a growth industry. Not because we sell more policies. Yeah, it's not because we sell more policies, because we create, as an insurance industry, more possibilities, right? We create more possibilities. Now, all this requires a mindset. Yeah, it requires a humongous change in mindsets, okay? The reason why I say it requires a huge change in mindset is because the insurance industry is organized around 4 questions, right? How do we sell more? How do we underwrite better? How do we reduce fraud? And how do we improve our claims? All narratives, review sessions, board meetings, vertical functional reviews. This is the narrative, because fundamentally we believe that this is what can drive value for the organization, right? Now, but I wonder if you have to do the growth capacity and you have to redefine how we look at, I think there need to be 4 additional questions on top of these questions for the industry to ask itself. How do we increase confidence rather than merely increase coverage? Yeah? How do we increase confidence rather than just increase coverage? How do we prevent risk rather than simply pay for risk? Right? How do we become partners in life's journey instead of participant only when tragedy strikes? And lastly, how do we multiply India's growth rather than simply grow our organization? Now, this is a fundamental shift. You know, I'm a CEO, MD. I've got to think of my organization. I'm not worried about others. I get my bonuses, I get my increments, I get everything based on. But somewhere down the line, as a community, we need to start looking at how are we growing the country, and how is the insurance industry enabling that, right? Now, let me come to the next question of, again, since the Insurance Summit, we are talking about artificial intelligence and what it can do and what it cannot do and how much we understand, how much we don't understand. It's just become another common adjective that we use in all our conversations and every meeting, assuming that we know everything, right? Now we answer the artificial intelligence is actually extraordinary, right? It will transform underwriting. I have no problems there. It will transform pricing, no issues. It will transform fraud detection. It will transform claims. It will transform distribution. It will transform customer servicing, all of it. And I know in this summit there are enough exhibits outside addressing either all of these or some of these and so on and so forth. But I believe the real opportunity for the insurance industry is not necessarily artificial intelligence, right? It is the augmented trust. Because as machines begin making more decisions, people will ask one question: can I trust this decision? Yeah, it's important that even today, after all this, we ask ourselves, can I trust this data? Can I trust this decision? So technology may improve efficiency, only trust creates loyalty. Only trust creates confidence. Only trust creates enduring brands. I still remember when I joined HDFC Life and when we were looking at the brand proposition of what can we communicate from a trust perspective. And then came the noble idea that I was the architect of that idea, Sar Utha Ke Jio, right? It's all about the promise of that here is an organization that can rely and give you the trust. And so the companies that will win in the next decade will not just deploy AI, they will use AI to deepen human trust, right? And therefore, leadership at all levels in the insurance industry need to address this. How can you make every AI initiative answer one question? Does this increase customer trust? Right? At the end of the day, all industries exist for the customer. So if it does not build trust, relook at it. Measure confidence, not just premiums. We are used to always talking about premiums. Ask, did this customer become financially stronger because of us? Third, the next billion customers won't buy insurance products because of the products. They will buy because someone finally made insurance understandable. Yeah, very powerful. We are not in a situation where we understand the products even well, but we're very great in pushing the product. And that's the reason why you see a lot of mis-selling. And you see a lot of customer grievances coming in, which we are tackling by the day, right? And therefore, it's important for consumers to understand and make insurance understandable. I know there is a lot of efforts going on right now, both by the regulators and by the industry, to make that happen. Now I move to another important point, that in this journey of the insurance industry, collaborating, working together, in the last 10 years back saw premium growth as a perspective of how we define the insurance industry. Right? Now is an era of collaboration. And what do I mean by that? It is, okay, the next decade actually belongs to ecosystem. And when I say the next decade belongs to ecosystems, now the regulator has given us an extraordinary aspiration. The extraordinary aspiration, which is a subject that I spoke at the same conference last year, was insurance by all by 2047. Now, those initiatives of insurance by all by 2047, and the regulator themselves have started Bima Trinity, which is Bima Sugam, Bima Vistar, Bima Vahak, and I'm sure you must be hearing all of this. And the objective is to simplify access, improve inclusion, and create a more connected insurance ecosystem, right? Now, stemming from that, please understand that the ecosystem that the regulator is talking about and the relevance of it from a trust and a confidence perspective, that's something that the regulator will try and address, but possibly may not be able to influence too much as we, as an insurance industry, can create that collaboration. And when I say this collaboration, what are we talking about? Until 5-6 years ago, these words were not even heard of collaboration. It was just purely an insurance industry and their distribution system, and they go and sell whatever ways they had, traditional or otherwise, right? Today, our ecosystem can do that. The next ecosystem that I'm talking about is about insurers, reinsurers, banks, fintechs, health techs, startups, technology companies, government, right? Each has a piece of the puzzle. Each has a piece of the puzzle, right? No one has the whole picture. None of these ecosystems have the whole picture. And therefore, leadership therefore shifts from competition alone to purposeful collaboration, right? And why do I say that? I say that simply because the winners of the next decade will not necessarily be the largest organizations. Yeah? Will not just be the largest organizations. They will be the organizations that create the largest ecosystems of trust. So every insurer today manages financial capital, risk capital, human capital. The winners of the next decade, in my mind, will be another capital, which is the trust capital. And industries that can collaborate, work with all the members of the ecosystem, and deliver a value proposition that is sustainable over a period of time, and that is the trust capital that I'm talking about. So now why, again, let me expand the trust a little more. The trust capital actually compounds. Now, for example, all of us know from an industry perspective one claim settled well creates referrals, creates reputation, creates resilience, creates long-term value. Yeah? So this is the leadership language that everybody in the insurance industry needs to understand and possibly change its mindset going forward. Now, all of you are very important people in your respective organizations and at very senior positions, and I'm sure you have aspirations at some point of time to lead organizations in your own right. Every CEO has ambitious growth plans, and every single CEO has ambitious growth plans, and as they should, right? And they should have those growth plans. But may I offer one thought? Perhaps we are measuring success a little too narrowly, right? We celebrate premium growth, and that brings a lot of happiness. Targets achieved, exceeded targets, premium growth, whether it's new business premium, renewal business, gross written premium, right? We celebrate market share. I am amongst the top 10. I'm in the top 5 in the leadership, in the league table. We measure ourselves, and those of you at the higher levels, when we look at value, we talk about embedded value, and therefore growth in embedded value becomes very significant. And people in the general and the life insurance, in the general and the health insurance industry look at combined ratios. And as long as the combined ratios are less than 100, we are fine. Otherwise, we're making money through investment profits. And from a life insurance perspective, we look at persistency in a big way. All important. I'm not saying they're not important. But perhaps they're all outputs. Yeah? They're all outputs. And so therefore, imagine in every annual business report or any significant report that we talk about, and then additional questions are being celebrated. What confidence did we create this year? Are people talking this language from an industry perspective? How many first-time entrepreneurs restarted because of us? How many families avoided financial stress? How many MSMEs recovered after disruption? How many women entered the financial security for the first time? How many climate-related losses became recoveries instead of tragedies? How many dreams survived because our promise was honored? What did you do this year what made the insurance simpler for the customer? Right? What did you do that increased the trust in your brand? What new ecosystem did you create rather than compete against? What risk did you help India take that otherwise this would have not taken? Would that not be an equally important measure of value creation other than your premium growth, your embedded value, your combined ratios, and so on, and persistency? Because premium is what customers pay us. Confidence is what we give back. And so for the narrative of enabling growth becomes very, very significant when you look at it from this. And possibly, this is India's hardest economic assets. Now in the interest of time, I'm not obviously going to dwell more on each of these points. When history writes about India's journey towards having a Vikasit Bharat, as we all hear, it'll celebrate many things, right? A Vikasit Bharat will celebrate technology, it'll celebrate infrastructure, it'll celebrate manufacturing, it'll celebrate innovation. But behind every one of those stories, there will be another story, the story of confidence. And the confidence of a young entrepreneur to begin, the confidence of a family to dream, the confidence of an investor to commit capital, the confidence of a business to recover after adversity, the confidence of a nation to keep moving forward despite uncertainty. Ladies and gentlemen, that contribution, that confidence does not happen by accident. It is built quietly, patiently, every single day. And that is where insurance plays a significant role in ensuring that we move from enabling to become the industry that propels growth. And if we can do all this together, premium growth will not be our greatest achievement. It will simply be the outcome of something much, much bigger. A more confident, a more resilient, and a more ambitious India. Yeah? Now, when I say the confidence economy, I'm talking about AI becomes a tool for building confidence. Digital ecosystems become vehicles for distributing confidence. Right? Customer centricity becomes the experience of confidence. Right? Trust becomes the currency of confidence. IID's vision becomes the architecture of democratizing confidence. Insurance companies become builders of confidence. And Vikasit Bharat becomes the outcome of a more confident society. Now look at the narrative and look at, when you stitch this up all together, the perspective that it brings is so entirely different and so very compelling. Yeah? So, India has never lacked ambition. Today it has unprecedented opportunity. But opportunity does not build nations. Nations are built when millions of people have the confidence to act. So, like I said, insurance is one of those institutions. Perhaps the next decade will not remember us because we sold more policies. Perhaps it will remember us because we helped build a more confident, more resilient India. So if we succeed, the real policy we would have underwritten, is the future of the nation. We do not insure lives, we insure possibilities. And in closing, right, insurance is India's confidence infrastructure. Insurance is not just a protection industry, it is a growth capacity industry. The next decades will not be delivered by the risks that we undertake, but by the growth we ensure. Premium is the input, confidence is the outcome, national growth is the impact. Right? Insurance does not merely restore balance sheet, it replaces the future. And my final statement, the true measure of a success will not be the premiums we collect, but the confidence we create. Not the risks we underwrite, but the ambitions we unlock. Not the growth of our industry alone, but the growth of a nation. Because the next decade of insurance will not be defined by the risk we underwrite, it will be defined by the growths we enable. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Well, such inspiring, forward-looking and strategic perspectives shared. Can we have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Suresh Mahalingam? Sir, I would request you to please join us at the center stage because we'd like to felicitate you with a memento, a token of appreciation. Requesting Mr. Sameer Singh Jenny to felicitate Mr. Suresh Mahalingam. Can we have a round of applause one more time, ladies and gentlemen? Well, Sir rightly mentioned that technology is something that creates opportunity, creates job, but it is trust that creates confidence. So thank you once again. Well, rightly mentioned, the next decade belongs to ecosystem, and of course, the winners of the next decade will not necessarily be the largest organizations, but they will be the organizations that build the largest ecosystem of trust. So thank you once again for joining us in. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time that we set the stage for a fireside chat coming your way. Well, throughout the sessions that we started since morning, we've explored customer trust, future operating models, responsible AI, and the strategic priorities that are shaping the insurance industry. That is where, when we talk about a common thread that has emerged across every discussion, it is that technology may enable transformation, but leadership determines its success. Well, our next session up next precisely will focus on that. We will now move forward to a fireside chat, the leadership imperative, reinventing insurance for the age of intelligence. It is my honor to invite on stage, please put your hands together as we are delighted to welcome on stage Mr. Kamlesh Rao, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Aditya Birla Sun Life Insurance. Let's put our hands together, who will share his perspectives on leading organizations through this new era of intelligent transformation, and he'll be in conversation with Mr. Sameer Singh Jaini, founder and chief executive officer at the Digital Fifth. We look forward to this chat. Over to you, sir.
I'm audible? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Kamlesh, for joining. I think I'll be very honest. I think a couple of days back when I was preparing this session with him, some of the insight he was providing was amazing, right? How the insurance for all can only be done when the whole ecosystem comes together, including the reinsurers, so that the policies which are low in coverage can also be delivered at the right price. It's something whose inside the ecosystem actually can help. So the whole objective of these next 20 minutes is largely to ensure that we learn from the expert and we ensure that, and I'll also give you some chances to also ask your questions as well. But the whole objective is to figure out what it is which will take us forward. Now, Kamlesh, as we spoke earlier, so we are all looking at insurance for all by 2047, which is not too far away. It's just 20 years away, right? So I think what do you see are the key drivers of growth? As of now, the insurance penetration is actually reducing. It's not increasing. So what will change in the ecosystem? What is required by the ecosystem to make it available to more people at right price? And of course, Suresh sir spoke a lot about trust. So maybe a whole perspective on the how in the insurance industry will grow from here.
So, if you put the numbers in perspective, then insurance for all by 2047 will mean India's insurable population today is roughly about 85-90 crores. We've sold about 22-23 crore policies, so that's the gap. You fast forward to 2047, that number will become 110 crores. So if you were to get to insurance for all by 2047, it requires a CAGR of roughly 7 to 8% of new policies that we write. Unfortunately, the last 4 or 5 years, if you break it down, the first 3 years had no growth in number of policies. Value growth was there, but not growth in number of policies. The last 2 years, we are at that 7-8%, but it is going to be like 7-8% for the next 20 years for sure. Insurance, keep LIC aside, I still think is an urban phenomena. The same number for urban and tier 1 will be upwards of 30% penetration, but the number will go to significantly 1% or 2% when you go to tier 3 and tier 4 towns. Insurance for all will mean selling insurance in those places where we have not been able to do a good job up till now. My sense is we need to be able to sell bite-sized products. I mean, the guy in tier 4 and tier 5 location is more worried about his crop, his livelihood, his loan. We got to find ways to be able to embed life insurance in some of these products to start with before getting the real experience of full-fledged insurance. We have work cut out to do. I keep saying, you know, as part of the Insurance Awareness Council, I'm the chairman of that council. We're trying to, the awareness of insurance in the country is higher than that of deposits. Yeah. But when awareness has to move into consideration to purchase, that's where I think we haven't done a great job. Suresh spoke about that we've oversold protection. I don't know how many people here know that for every 100 rupees that gets paid out by all life insurance companies, we pay only 9 rupees for death. The balance 91 rupees we pay to people who are living. So we are a very important part of financial savings, asset allocation that we do, but we haven't spoken about it as much as we can. People put money in fixed deposits in India and there's a reinvestment risk because you don't get more than a 3-year or a 5-year fixed deposit. In India, we provide guaranteed returns for 30 years, 40 years. If you buy an annuity product from a life insurance company, we provide you a guaranteed return for your whole life, which could be, you know, there's no period for it, it could be very high. I think we have a job cut out to be able to do more awareness about what we do, and that's what will hopefully, so us and the regulator, and like you said, ecosystems will have to come together because the distribution systems in tier 4 and tier 5 towns are significantly different than what it is in tier 1 and tier 2. So we got to embed ourselves in that ecosystem to be able to make sure we get to this aspiration of insurance for all by 2047.
I think you spoke about a lot on tier 3, 4. So if that has to happen, what would be required to be changed on the product design side, distribution side, product configuration side as well? So what all has to change? Because it takes time, right? We know that. I remember Hotaji speaking about that every Indian, he would wanted NPCI product to be used. I'm talking about, I think, 2013 or so, and he wanted it by 2020 to happen. So I think fairly significant movement happened. So what all designs and what government should do, what all things you expect the markets to do?
I think, I came to the insurance world about 6-7 years back. I've been a banker for 25 years. I say this in a lighter vein that, there's too much of insurance experience in insurance. Yeah. So we got a little used to how things are done, how things are sold. We are happy with the fact that our products, like Suresh said, are a little complicated. I think the delivery of what we sell is a little more complicated than our products itself. So we got to learn to be able to simplify. And that's where data, machine learning, AI, information. It was so easy for us 2 years back to create a fixed deposit product. We created a fixed deposit product on the platform of insurance. Of course, the regulator did not allow me to call it a fixed deposit. So I had to call it a fixed maturity plan. If we are able to simplify, what we sell, my sense is the big objective will get met. And there's some learning. I think health insurance is getting there. You get into an Ola Uber, you can actually get a bite-sized health insurance product for the drive that you have if something happens to you. We haven't done that as well as far as life insurance is concerned. So if we get to products which can be sold quicker, faster, the amount of direct sales which happens in life insurance across the entire world is still downwards of 5%. Whatever gets sold today gets sold on Policy Bazaar. If the regulators dream of Bima Sugam in the new Aadhaar when it fructifies in September, October, it will provide a platform for people to discover. I think what we haven't been able to do is for customers to be able to go to a place, discover, find out what is good for them, able to consume it without having to depend on a distributor or aided support. Because we sell products for 30 years, 40 years, there is an inherent belief that we have that it requires to be aided. We moved from physical to phygital right now, but we haven't moved completely from phygital to digital. I think some of the attempt that we will make in that direction as we speak, products are getting created. The Insurance Awareness Council is wanting to advertise. There are myths that we want to break. We did a focus group discussion among SECA people, and 9 out of 10 people there told us that the single largest reason they don't buy protection is if they live, they think all their premiums will go away. Whereas 50% of the insurance sales that happen of life insurance industry in protection is on a product where if you live, you can actually get all your premiums back. Yeah? But 9 out of 10 people of SECA plus in that room did not know that something like this existed. I think it's a failure that we should accept, that we haven't been able to talk about it as much as we can, as we should. And there are interesting products. I mean, I went to a wealth management conference and everybody there was 40 plus and they were all talking about their life in their 30s when they were worried about home loans, in the 40s where they were worried about education loan for their kids to go abroad. And suddenly after 50, they were worried about what will they leave back. Yeah. I don't know, but I keep saying this and went and sat on that platform to say, what will you do about the fact that you will live from 60 to 85? Yeah? So if you look at your working life is between 25 to 60, that's 35 years. I think your average age that you will live now will be till 85. So you have 25 years of retirement life in this country now. Everybody is living longer. If you die younger, it's a different issue. But if you live longer, you really live long. 25 years of no income, high medical inflation is not that easy. There's a belief, and I've run wealth management business in banks. There's a belief that wealth is good enough for taking care of my retirement years. I mean, God forbid that COVID does not come back again, but if it does during your retirement years, your wealth will become half at any point of time, maybe in 20 days or 30 days. You need a stream of cash flow. And today, only NPS or, whatever, EPF, our traditional systems, I keep joking to say, my dad was very sure that I would take care of him in his retirement. I am like 50% sure whether my son will take care of my retirement, but I'm sure my son, when he gets older, he will be 0% confidence that his kid will take care of him. The other pension system that we have in this country is joint family. They have also got destroyed. Nobody wants to stay in a joint family. So if you don't have a stream of income, which is the annuity product that is provided by life insurance companies today, we haven't spoken about it as long, but it used to be 2% of our business 3 years back. As we speak, it is 10% business of the life insurance industry. And India is not remaining younger any longer. You know, our kids are not getting married. If they're getting married, they'd rather have a pet than have a baby. So new kids are not, young is not going to be the future. 50 plus population, I am told, is going to become 30 crores 20 years from now. I think it's important to look at long-term savings products, and I think insurance fills a huge gap in that. We want to be part of asset allocation with affluent people, mass people, and also the private wealth guys. I'm telling you, the movement that we are seeing is significant, but we also have a lot of work to do in this area.
So I am 55, so I think he was looking at me at 50. So I know the problems are different. Today, that home loan issues are all solved for, right? We went through it. We were. So I always think that, and me and my wife were discussing slightly off the track, that if we had this money earlier, how life would have been different, right? So we were always struggling for EMI, struggling for kids' education and all, and trying to save for all the future. Now we are old, those problems are not there, but I think we are all worried on the annuity and the wealth side. And I keep telling that now spend as much as you want, but the needs are not there. We can't buy, what else can we buy, right? I buy white shirt and also I think it's a different world anymore. So lifestyle changes, everything changes, but those issues are real. But now at my age, annuity is a big critical one. So maybe annuity, retirement, and this is the segment which is focusing much more on insurance. So you spoke a lot about, maybe you can drill down what ecosystem can do to bring attention to it and what new products can be built. Because I know I met an insurer 2 days back, and when he spoke about annuity, it was a bit negative, so I couldn't figure out what he was saying. So maybe you want to explain how annuity can be actually accelerated and bring value to those who are retiring now.
You know, annuity basically takes care, I mean, assuming you are at 50 and you want to plan for what will happen after 60 or 65, there are interesting products. You know, you may not like a return of 7.5% is what you get as annuity rates today. But you are talking about 7.5% for the next 30 years, 40 years. Assuming you live till 85, 90, you're talking about the next 40 years time frame. I don't know what interest rates in India will be 30 years from now. Yeah? But you are locking into a 7.5% return at this point of time. You are locking into some amount of protection that something happens to you during your retirement age, what will happen. You'd be surprised that, you know, I was at the forefront of the industry to say, why can't we create an annuity product like NPS? So NPS is a great annuity product because you can do allocation between debt and equity. And you'll be happy to know that in April, insurance companies launched what they call an annuity linked to the Nifty, which means basically 60% of the money that you plan for your annuity can be guaranteed, which will get you that 7.5% return. 40% of your premium can actually go to the Nifty. And if you have a time frame of 10 years, it's like you start planning at 50 and you pay premiums for 10 years. Your annuity rates can be as high as 12.5 to 13%, starting from the age of 61 or 62 if you have a 10-year PPT time frame. Now, these are products, and that's the beauty of compounding, right? In India, on a 10-year Nifty investment, the average returned about 12.5 to 13%, and you're putting 40% of your money there. Now today you are allowed to do only 60-40. We are pushing the regulator to say, give the customer a choice based on his risk profile. Why are you doing only Nifty? We could do the BSE 200, we could do the mid cap, we could do the small cap. And these variances will actually bring in so much of richness to the product, and the customer can make a choice. Now, is this difficult? If I sell it as annuity, it sounds very complicated. But if I simply say that, look at what kind of return or income you want to get for 30 years or 40 years or till you live, I back calculate and say this is the amount of money then you have to put for the next 10 years. You do 60% allocation to fixed income on guarantee basis and 40 on equity, and your return will be 11.5 to 13.5%. Now, I think it's a great product. Somebody will argue from the mutual fund industry that if he does an SIP, he could get kind of similar returns. And I'm not conflicting. I've done mutual fund, I've done wealth, I've done AIFs. I'm not saying it's either or. It's just that if you have 100 rupees to allocate, do we deserve 20 rupees out of that or 25 rupees out of that is the only point that we are trying to make, and that's the only debate that we will do in all our campaigns. We are doing the next campaign as we speak will happen in August, where we are talking about commonsensical conversations between people who have bought insurance and people who haven't bought insurance. You'll be surprised of the myths people have, you know. People say, oh, will my claim get paid? Okay, will it happen or will it not happen? Because that's true. When I buy insurance, I have no benefit. I'm buying for a benefit that will come to me, hopefully, when I'm not there. But the reality is that the 25th life insurance company's settlement ratio is 98 on NOP basis, right? And that's where, you know, like Suresh spoke about AI. You know, the use of AI that we do today in our underwriting and claims and fraud detection, the beauty is not about what we have to do when the claim comes. Our ability to be able to know when the guy is writing a policy, that we know everything about him so well that we are 99.9% sure that when a claim comes, nothing will go wrong, I'll be able to pay to him, is the beauty of AI that is getting adopted in the life insurance or the health insurance industry right now. The amount of information I know about him now. Now, there are people who don't give as much information as they are supposed to give, and that's the only reason why the settlement claim ratio is 98 and the balance 2 falls in that category. But today the AI models that allow us to underwrite, like you said, in underwriting, in claims, in fraud, is so amazing that we will move both in health and in life. I don't have so much experience on general to say that when the proof comes of being able to pay what you're supposed to do, I think the experience of the guy will be amazing. We are working on a model where if the buyer of the policy is happy to tell his nominee, yeah, because there's some people in India who don't want to tell their nominee what value of insurance.
I don't know why they communicate nothing to
why it is
nominees.
like that. But if the nominee knows, we are able to lock in with the nominee what he or she will have to do in the unlikely event of something going wrong with the insurance buyer. And at that point of time, everything is enabled for us. He just has to shoot it on WhatsApp and the money will get credited into the bank account. So usage of AI to be able to say, you know, I'd be more worried about whatever I can pay without any human involvement is where AI can be used. But where the decision is a no, that AI detects something is wrong or models detect something is wrong, is when the human tries to come in, because we have to live up to our promise of the fact that when a claim has to come, it has to be paid. Yeah? And, you know, Suresh spoke about mis-selling and, you know, we get all the bad press in the newspaper. I think we've sold one bad policy somewhere, either to a regulator's cousin or to a minister, something for sure we get bad. But the reality is that the complaint ratio of this industry is 0.4 for every 100 policies that we sell. Yeah? And this is the presentation I made to DFS to say, you may argue with me and say everybody does not complain. So multiply that by 2 or 2.5. It is still one per 100. I mean, I am better than the uptime of ATMs in this country. And I'm not saying we are happy about where we are. We have to do better. This number is coming down on a regular basis. But I think we got to establish the fact that the claim has to be paid. Yeah? And when COVID came, and nobody values us for that, when COVID came, we paid 5 times, 8 times, 10 times more claims, both health and life put together. And no government had to bail us out. No regulator had to bail out any life insurance or any insurance company. We still stand tall. So I'm saying the work that when you are tested, we've been able to demonstrate, but maybe we got to do more to get that same perception in the eyes of everybody that we deliver our promise as well as we stated for sure.
No, this is good. I think it's like a masterclass. I somehow feel that people like you can spend more time communicating to people in general, right? Because I think the challenge is that the knowledge out here is in depth, and maybe that exposure to the market will help, right? So maybe next time we should do online courses like this. Then people will figure out what to do. But maybe we have time for just one question from the audience. Maybe anybody wants to ask any questions to Kamlesh. I obviously have a large script, but I'm just running out of time. So maybe any question, anybody, you can raise your hand. Maybe Rishi, you can do that, yeah. Maybe you can quickly introduce yourself before you ask the question. Keep the question very sharp.
Yeah, hi, this is Manish from Liferay. One question to Kamlesh sir is, since the industry is aiming for insuring everyone by 2047, what industry is doing to ensure elderly people, all the old age people who are 50 plus or 60 plus, because these days it's very difficult to buy an insurance for our senior citizens.
So before you respond, 50 plus ko old age mat bolo. And lot out here.
I am also 50 plus, sir.
I'm not going to tell you my age right now for sure, so I'm saying to add a part of the conversation. I think it's difficult to get protection as a product, therefore protection brought earlier is very important. But I'm saying typically the largest segment of people at 50 plus that get bought, like I said, is annuity. Protection comes along with that to the extent of the premium that you pay. And therefore, at some point of time, we were excluding 60 plus as the targeted population for insurance. If you look at NPS, which started much earlier, and today the quantum of money which is coming on absolute basis of people who have put money in NPS and they attain the retirement age of 60 right now is roughly about 5 to 6,000 crores every year that comes to the marketplace. You know for a fact that you have to annuitize 40% of that. You can only get 60% of that in lump sum. The balance 40% has to be annuitized. So that's the segment that we play in very, very well. So whenever you come to that age, I'm saying you got to make sure you annuitize your product. Like I said, the whole concept of variable annuity, and we're trying to bring a flavor of capital markets to insurance, which has not happened in the past as well, apart from the ULIP product that we do. Is changing the landscape of how 60 plus people are investing for the future. Yeah. Also people who put money in ULIP, and there's this classical debate that whether should I put money in ULIP or should I put money in mutual fund. And having done both, I can tell you that, if you want to put money for 3 years, don't come to life insurance at all. Yeah. If your time period of investment is greater than 7 years, yeah, because in 7.5 years is when the cost of a ULIP breaks even with that of a mutual fund. And after 7.5 years, the cost of the life insurance product on ULIP actually gets better. And if you look at 8 years plus fund performance of any ULIP fund manager of life insurance, it will beat any fund manager of mutual fund very, very nicely. Of course, you've got to give credit because the time frame of 8 years, markets also do well in the same point of time. But I often say that we mix the comparison between the two products on the time frame of the horizon of investment. Yeah, because if you put for the first 2-3 years, you put your 2-3 lakh rupees, I'm saying in mutual fund, God forbid if something goes wrong with you, you're not going to get anything but the capital back, but the same 2 lakh of premium will get you 20 lakh money from life insurance. So you got to price for mortality in the initial years for sure. So if it is 3 years, don't come to life insurance at all. But if your time frame is 7 years, 8 years and beyond, then I think that's the door that you can knock. And of course, like I said, it's not either or. There is some allocation that you can do to both. I think is the only point that I'd make.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I think we'll have to pause now. Maybe we'll take it offline, but a very engaging session. I'll be very honest, when we organize this event, sometimes people say we are event organizers. We're actually listening and learning through the journey, right? And this knowledge we don't get much. I was actually asking him how many other large insurance or maybe a deep insurance events are there, not much. So I think we can do more with it. And I would request many of you, if you are in anywhere close to event, please organize a Insurtech event. We need much more in the market so that ecosystem will grow. With this, thank you. Thank you, Kamlesh, for joining us and teaching us a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can we have a bigger round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Because like Mr. Samir mentioned, this was not just a fireside chat, but an absolute masterclass in itself. So thank you once again, sir, for joining us in. We'd like to felicitate you with a memento. Can we please get the felicitations on stage? A louder round of applause one more time, ladies and gentlemen. Some important perspectives and imperatives shared right there on how really leading organizations through this new era of intelligent transformation. And I'm sure the audience members have been able to encapsulate some very, very important points from that discussion. Thank you once again for joining us in. All right, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now move forward to our next very important segment, which is going to be a demonstration session for all of you. Well, as insurers continue to accelerate digital transformation, trusted identity verification has become a critical enabler for secure, seamless, and customer-friendly experiences. That is where we bring to you the first very segment at how technology plays the central role in transforming what really used to be manual, paper-heavy processes into seamless digital experiences. Well, we are talking about how MediAssist makes healthcare accessible with UIDAI ensuring identity trustworthiness. And joining us on stage, please join me in welcoming, put your hands together for Mr. Praveen Samaria, Chief Technology Officer at MediAssist. Let's put our hands together. Very warm welcome, sir. Yeah, you can play this one. It will be up front also.
Good morning, everyone. I have a small clip for all of you, which will basically explain what happens in the hospital once we have what we have for the future of identity or the trust building between the members and the insurers and the hospitals. Can you help me with this? Click the green. While it comes up, as part of insurance industry, one of the most challenging pieces that you see is collection of the documents for different processes that we do. And as that happens, identification of a member becomes like the most crucial task, starting from when somebody is buying a policy to when somebody is actually going for a claim. When somebody is buying a policy, you usually see people are submitting different proofs to identify themselves. As the Aadhaar came into the play, that became one of the core identity for the members. But still, when you go for the group Mediclaims, you usually see people would be having a different name in their employer's record than that is there in the different identity proofs that exist. And at the time when the actual claim comes, the claim either gets rejected or delayed just for the identification of the member. It becomes a problem not just for that member, but also becomes a cost for the provider who is there, the hospital who is actually waiting for getting the approvals, and for the insurer to basically keep on calling or getting in touch with the member to figure out how this issue can be resolved. Because in the end, everybody wants to solve the customer's problem. As we move forward on the journey of moving identity from those papers or scans towards something that can actually build a trust in terms of identification of the member, we try creating it in a fashion that the member itself can not just identify the identity, but also can identify the presence of theirs at the time when this is happening. In the industry, approximately 65 to 70% of the claim that happens today, it is through cashless processes. And in the cashless processes, when somebody reaches out to a hospital desk, they have to prove who they are. And as part of that, somebody who is struggling, like in one of those events of hospitalization, has to figure out where is their identity card. And finding that identity card sometimes takes you a scroll of the entire gallery, sometimes you have to go through different WhatsApp messages, sometimes you have to call a relative of yours to even get that card delivered on the hospital. With UIDAI OVSE, we are able to break that into a very smooth journey. The moment you reach the TPA desk, there is a QR code generated for you. You scan the QR code and you are able to identify by the facial verification on the OVSE offline verification app, saying this is who I am. The insurer or the TPA get the information that they need, like the service sharing. It's not about that I want to know your Aadhaar number. I want to know who you are in terms of name, and there might be one or two more data points. That's it. What is needed is identification of the identity, not your biometric, not your Aadhaar card number. If you go further in terms of the way DPDP is rolling out, if I start storing your Aadhaar card number, this is what happens in the background. The moment I receive a physical copy of your Aadhaar card, I have to take a black marker. I have to deliberately delete first, at least if not entire, at least the first 8 digits of your Aadhaar card, cover it up, depending on that person's diligence on doing his work. It solely depends whether he is able to master the Aadhaar or not. There are dime a dozen solutions in the market who would be doing the same thing on the digital copies of Aadhaar that exist. Similarly, there are dime a dozens which are actually extracting the information of this Aadhaar card through different means and then giving you that data. You have zero control over those vendors, though you might be having the legally bindings in the agreements. But eventually what you are doing is you are sharing the identity to a vendor you may have limited access to. And we have seen historically or recent past in last 8 months at least 3 to 4 breaches, which was not with the actual holder or fiduciary of the data, but with the vendors who were actually managing those data points. With this journey of allowing members to themselves identify and say, this is what we are able to save the benefits of the member. The impersonation which used to happen by the scammers across the hospitals, across the, there are cartels which has been identified, and there are like, at least in the north of the India, I have seen at least 7 to 10 news in last three months, where there is a cartel who will be getting the entire identity proofs of people, generate fake bills, and able to make claims to the insurance companies. Identity, if it can be verified at the core or source of it, becomes easier to manage for every stakeholder. So for providers, it's no longer identification of the member in terms of who they really are, because the member exists, there is an app which actually validates their identity. For the insurer, the hassle of identifying the person with the help of the TPA guys who is actually having no interest in doing that. All they care about is the documentation has to be completed and it has to be submitted for the hospital. And eventually for the member who is more worried about the patient who is to be taken care of rather than hassling through the documentation. So with this approach, sorry I couldn't play the video, but it actually explains, and maybe we'll be sharing over LinkedIn and you guys can follow there. It allows us to basically identify in 3 different journeys that we do today. First journey, which allows the members when they are going to the hospital desk, scan a QR code, identify yourself and finish it off. Secondly, the moment we receive a claim, if we don't have a KYC document attached to it, or at the time when somebody is submitting a claim through one of the digital assets, they would be able to see what actually is happening across in that journey. So it's a snapshot of around 2 minutes video. Would like you to have a look on it.
The gap between technology and trust. We are proud to announce our milestone partnership with UIDAI. This game-changing integration brings official UIDAI-backed Aadhaar app-based offline verification directly into India's largest health benefits network, unlocking a frictionless ecosystem for every stakeholder. For members, it means absolute freedom from documentation delays. For hospitals and insurers, it drastically reduces operational hassles, optimizes processing costs, and effectively eliminates fraud through authentic identity validation. Scenario 1. Cashless hospital admissions. Step 1. Walk up to the TPA help desk. Step 2. The TPA help desk representative generates a secure dynamic offline verification QR code via the Magnum portal. Step 3. Open your Aadhaar app and scan the QR code. Step 4. Request screen of verifier, user profile shown with default checkbox tick. User can either approve or reject this screen. Step 5. Once approved, next screen shows what Aadhaar attributes are requested by the verifier. Step 6. Continue with face verification or decline the request. Step 7. Complete a seamless face verification. That's it. Your identity is securely validated on the spot. No endless photocopying of physical IDs at the front desk. Scenario 2. Digital KYC verification. Step 1. Receive offline verification request from MediAssist for your claim. Step 2. Open the email and scan the Aadhaar verification QR code using the Aadhaar app. Step 3. Request screen of verifier, User profile shown with default checkbox ticked. User can either approve or reject this screen. Step 4. Once approved, next screen shows what Aadhaar attributes are requested by the verifier. Step 5. Continue with face verification or decline the request. Step 6. Complete the Aadhaar face verification. That's it. Using Aadhaar app-based offline verification, your identity gets securely verified digitally, helping you complete your identity verification quickly without the need to submit physical identity documents. Scenario 3. Fast-track reimbursements. Step 1. File your reimbursement claim after discharge using the Maven app. Step 2. When prompted for validation, tap Verify with Aadhaar. Step 3. Complete the secure UIDAI face verification. Step 4. Return to the app with your identity verified and your claim timeline unblocked for lightning-fast approvals. Don't let missing identity proofs delay your payout. Verified claims, zero friction, optimize costs. By integrating UIDAI-backed Aadhaar app-based offline verification into the daily claim cycle, we are transforming healthcare administration across India. Smart integration, seamless care.
Thank you. Just one last thing. When we were doing all of this, I would be very, I should say, the UIDAI team has been like making it too smooth that we were able to finish it off within like 2 to 3 weeks time. It's not just about building the trust with the customer, it's also about ensuring that what is being built on the other side is what is being consumed on this side. And this cut across the insurance industry, and I think this is one of the initiatives, at least from Mediasys standpoint, we find it like very useful for the member and should be able to bring it to the lives that we serve. Approximately 66 million lives is what we should be able to touch with this initiative. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, smart integration and seamless care. Let's have a round of applause for Mr. Praveen Samaria. One more time, everyone. I must say a fantastic partnership, a fantastic integration indeed, Mediasys and UIDAI. And I must say they truly share a symbiotic relation, together empowering people with faster, safer and more inclusive healthcare experiences. So thank you once again for joining us in. With that, ladies and gentlemen, well, up next, we will now have a look at UIDAI's Aadhaar ecosystem, how it is really transforming LIC processes by replacing paper-based manual verification with instant, secure digital solutions. Let us have a look at how this integration streamlines customer onboarding, accelerates claim settlements, and enhances data security across LIC's vast operations. Please put your hands together to talk more on that. Put your hands together as I invite on stage Shri Pramod Kumar, Deputy Chief Digital Officer at LIC. Let's put our hands together for Shri Pramod Kumar joining us in. A very warm welcome, sir.
Good morning. Really a great event and a good opportunity to present how this topic is getting so much of attention and discussion on identity. See, for us, I'm not very sure proving an identity in at least the audience which is here might be a very simple activities, right? You have so many documents. You have driving license, you have your passport, you have voter ID card, you have Aadhaar card, of course, you have PAN cards. But let me tell my own experience and then we realize why this needs to transform and how UIDAI is going to really create a UPI moment for the identity. We all are aware this SIR activity is ongoing we keep a lot of discussions happening around, and it's all about identity, right? You need to prove yourself. That comes at a later stage. The very first step is you have to fill an enumeration form, right? Being in Maharashtra, the voter ID card which I have is having my father name also in the middle, along with my Pramod Kumar. And my Aadhaar is having only Pramod Kumar. Now these two will not match. And the entire SI enumeration activity I can't do online. This is just yesterday's event. I have to reach out to BLO for an offline process. So when we talk about identity, while for those, because most of us are in technology, it might seem a very trivial thing. But let me tell you, being from LIC and with the experience we have, it really becomes very challenging many times for the people in the rural areas, for the segment whom we cover in the micro insurance, small ticket size policies, to prove their identities. Aadhaar, certainly, as DDG sir has very rightly pointed it out, just imagine the scale. 250 million people were not having identities. You must remember the movie scene where somebody just throws a shoe at the judge to get an FIR register. And what was the motive? To establish his identity. He wanted an FIR in his name so that he can prove who he is and that he is alive for a land dispute. Because there he was, and this has actually happened. It is not a movie scene or something. It actually happened in one of the rural courts where somebody was running after the Tehsil office to prove his identity, that this is so and this is that I am alive. He was not able to do, and then he went on to do these things. So certainly identity is one puzzle which we all day in day out discuss, try to solve, make it convenient, seamless. And now with DPDP coming, lot of compliance aspects have got attached to it. When we discuss single factor authentication, we discuss two-factor authentication, then we moved on, stepped up the security, we implemented multi-factor authentication, and now we are into phishing resistance multi-factor authentication. Now when the OVSC was introduced, I told my team, just see the possibilities which are there, and I will present some of them, very few of them, which at LIC we have started working on, we will be rolling out, and definitely thanks to a very great support from the UIDAI team on that. The onboarding was very seamless. Within a day we got onboarded. Within a week the technical integration was completed. And the demo which we wanted, whether these things are feasible or not, we could see in the last 2 weeks. We have already done with 3 use cases. We have already completed the integrations and it is under UAT. So the very first, my agents needed to have a user ID, password, OTP, all those things to get authenticated into an agency portal system where they could see their client portfolio. Now with DPDP coming, we wanted to secure that particular infrastructure for our agency and of course for our customers. So then I told my team whether we can use the OVSC as a very secure onboarding enabler itself. And it was very simple. As sir said, they designed the solution with purpose limitation, data minimization. My agent wants to onboard, I only need the mobile number. So the moment he goes to his portal, he gets the UPI QR code displayed, he scans it, gives a consent for the mobile number only. I get the mobile number from the digitally signed packet from UIDAI and he is onboarded. Simple one scan and agent is onboarded. in a very secure manner. This is already live. This we have already rolled out for our agents. Now comes to the customers verification. We need to do re-KYC activity at a frequent interval, especially for the annuity products, right? We typically call it as a certificate of existence. And many times, many senior citizens comes and in a lighter note, they say, no, what, क्या दिन आ गया है कि हमको अपने जिंदा होने का भी सबूत देना पड़ता है, right? Every year I have to come and ask somebody to sign a certificate of existence. Now there also, if you know somebody, some gazetted officer, some class 1 officer of LIC, there are a panel on which you have to get that certificate signed. Then we went and we are now designing with the OVSC a certificate. आप अपने घर पर ही रहिए, अपने आप को scan कीजिए. There is a proof of presence built into the OVSC app. किसी के पास जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. You don't need to visit anybody. From your residence, within a click, using the Aadhaar app, you are able to submit your proof of presence. That is what we need. Just imagine a 80-year-old, 85-year-old person in such a seamless manner is able to submit or meet the compliance requirement for his identity establishment and continuation of his annuity. Another very common use case is our, as I said, the micro insurance product, which are very low ticket size. Their entire life cycle of the onboarding, from prospecting to your underwriting to issuance to renewal, OVSC will help us in that entire journey where we are planning. We have a very trusted anchor, UIDAI, providing us the identity details. So here the advantage is, it's very trivial, but when you realize, now in my case, as I said, the name appearing on Aadhaar and the name appearing in my bank account and voter ID cards are different for different reasons, because that's how the local environment is. They always will include your father name. But my face remains same, right? My face is there with the Election Commission, my face is there in my Aadhaar, and I'm also there. I can scan and establish across multiple identities which might have been spelled differently, right? I remember in demographic authentication with Aadhaar, we do certain kind of fuzzy matching, like removing doctor, removing your army related titles, and some of the activities. But then that is also very limited, right? When we started doing a lot of demographic verifications, we find only 60% we were able to match, exact match of the name which is there in the policy record because of the legacy data. This is where the new platform, the new capabilities will come very handy. One will be, so I also have the photograph, right? And I am getting the photograph and proof of presence from the OVSC. So with that, even if there is a discrepancy in the name, I will be in a very seamless manner confirm that yes, this is the same person who is able, presenting himself for some renewal journey, some revival journey, some claim operations. So these are, in India, of course, we know the spelling gets incorrectly spelled out and written. I have a lot of my official documents when during my Calcutta posting, where my name will never be written as PRAMOD. Those who are from West Bengal, they will know, they will always write PROMOD. That is there in my official records. All communication I will receive is with PROMOD Kumar, right? So it is a reality, but certainly with this initiative, we are going, at least I see a possibility of solving that puzzle which is there, where we were trying multiple AI algorithm, machine learning, to find it out, yes, both the identities are same in a digital manner. But yes, the face will give us that easy way to solve these particular puzzles. So we are very excited about it. We are rolling out, and thanks for the UIDAI great support on this. Onboarding is very seamless, so I can assure all the entities here who would like to become UIDAI partner for OVSC. And the use cases are immense, right? KYC is just one of the use case. As I said, the authentication for logging in into your application, whether it is customer authentication, whether it is my agent's authentications, anybody who has a Aadhaar, if I want to authenticate, I can use it for that particular use case. So with that, I would like to thanks for inviting me for this small presentation on what initiative we have taken, and certainly we look forward to move much ahead on this journey with UIDAI. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for Mr. Pramod Kumar as well. Thank you so very much, sir, for sharing your insights. Well, another fantastic integration of UIDAI and LIC. And of course, UIDAI truly a trusted anchor indeed, which makes insurance services, this integration that makes insurance services more secure, efficient, and transparent. Well, up next, ladies and gentlemen, our next session will now demonstrate how Aadhaar offline verification is enabling organizations to build faster, safer, and more efficient digital journeys. It is my pleasure to invite on stage, put your hands together, for Mr. Praveen Chaudhary, Director, Aadhaar Usage Division, UIDAI, to deliver a special demonstration on Experience Aadhaar offline verification, sharing some success stories with us. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. It's my privilege to be here amongst you all, the sector, the players who keep the people of this country stress-free, tension-free. They say that, okay, I have an insurance, I need not worry. So it's a singular honor to be here amongst you all. So as has been spoken about earlier by the speakers before me, that in the insurance sector, identity verification of the insurer, of the claimant, of the nominee remains very, very crucial in the entire value chain of insurance. So Aadhaar has been working on that for quite some time. But the thing was that whenever an individual had to prove his or her identity, they say that, okay, ask Aadhaar, that I am so-and-so or not. So we thought that why should an individual ask Aadhaar every time to establish his identity? He should hold his credentials in his hand, which he can share with anyone, and the recipient, the verifier, trusts that. So with that thought process, we started with something called verifiable credentials. So these are the credentials which an individual holds in his hand in the Aadhaar app, which he can share with a verifier as and when required. Now because it has been issued by Aadhaar, the trust factor is enabled. So I'll take you through the journey as to what, what Aadhaar app is. So Aadhaar app is user-centric, the users first. The individual should have his own credentials in his hand, which he can share. It is ecosystem ready in the sense that any entity which needs identity verification can get registered as OVAC and ask for identity credentials of individuals whom they want to verify. And as you all know, the Aadhaar is tech-driven. As has been the theme of the today's Insurtech Summit, AI, Aadhaar is one of the pioneers in the use of AI for deduplication. So on 28th of January, we got the app launched by the Honorable Minister and dedicated to the nation. It is an integrated application in terms of providing various features and services like mobile number update, address update. Earlier, you know, whenever you needed to go and to a place like from Mumbai to Delhi, you need to update your address. You need to go to Aadhaar center. But through the app, you can do it while sitting at home, while sitting in the comfort of your office. It also provides for a feature of face verification that in case required, one can prove his presence at the point of contact wherever the identity was needed to be established. So it is a one-stop solution for everything for the people sitting in this hall. Aadhaar has been designed for real use cases for the insurance sector. It provides for a feature of selective share. So as DPDP rules have been notified, and that time is not very far, wherein data minimization will be the key. So Aadhaar app provides for a feature wherein only the fields which are required to be collected by the verifier can be shared by the individual. Like in the present case, whenever you need an identity document, all the fields on the Aadhaar profile are shared. There is no provision of, deleting a particular field in the identity document and sharing the rest. However, through the Aadhaar app, one can select the information that is required by the verifier and only that information gets shared. So to give you an example, that somebody needed to go to watch movie Dhurandhar and the law enforcement agency says that one has to be an adult. So is the age status that the theater owner is concerned about, that anybody who's entering the hall is above 18 years of age. So Aadhaar app provides for that feature. Only the age status that is above 18 gets shared with the theater owners. It also provides for having up to 5 profiles onto one app. So suppose I am a family of 5, 2 of us, 2 kids and my mother, and we are all traveling to Delhi from Mumbai. At the airport, all of us need not carry our Aadhaar cards or identity documents. All the profiles can be onboarded onto single app. So it provides for various user-centric features such as address update, mobile number updates. It has also have email update feature which we have just rolled out on 1st of July. And suppose, I am in a transferable job, I move to Delhi from Chennai. So now the address needs to be changed in the Aadhaar app of all my family members. So what I do is that I change my address, whereas rest members of my family update their address using this HOF based address update, family member request. So what they do is that through the app, they put a request for HOF based update, and that request number I put in my app and I approve that yes, these 3 people with this so and so request number are my family members, and I approve it, and in Aadhaar their address gets updated. So this is a very, very important feature for people who are relocating during their career. It also has various features such as contact card. So the requirement of visiting card, physical visiting card is no more there. You have a visiting card in Aadhaar which is Aadhaar verified. It also provides for the security aspects of identity information. We do not have a visibility as to when and where our Aadhaar has been used. So whenever there is not a requirement, we can lock our biometrics through this app, which was not available earlier. It also provides for TOTP. Whenever we are e-signing, the TOTP feature exists on this app. And it also gives you the authentication history almost up to 6 months plus, as to where all your Aadhaar has been used. Contact card I have already mentioned. So the entire thought process behind developing this app was that an individual should be having his own identity credential and should be able to share it with the verifiers whenever required, rather than asking Aadhaar database again and again. These are some statistics that in 6 months, more than 4 crore applications have been downloaded. Approx 48 lakh people have updated their mobile number through this app. 11 lakh people updated their address, and this email update feature we rolled out on 1st of July. Almost 1 lakh people are updating their emails through the app, which required a person to go to the center earlier. Now one can do so through this app. This is a small video on the use cases.
In a digital-first world, trusted identity verification is essential anytime, anywhere. For offices, Aadhaar-based offline verification enables verified identity as well as attendance marking through face verification. With Aadhaar-based offline verification, social media platforms can enable trusted profiles powered by user consent and secure verification. In residential societies, Aadhaar-based offline verification enables quick and secure visitor verification without manual registers.
So with this, I'll thank the organizers for inviting me here. And we have a stall outside where our team members are there. All those who wish to become offline verification seeking entity, wherever there's a need for identity verification. Just to put it into perspective, it is a very, very simple process that you put your application onto the OVSC portal, which is online. It gets approved within 24 hours, and thereafter you get a registration number. Post getting the registration number, the technical integration between your tech team and our tech team happens in just 4 or 5 hours, and then you are good to go for identity verification of your customers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Praveen Chaudhary. Thank you so very much, sir, for sharing those very important use cases with us and for that very special demonstration, your Aadhaar in your control. All right, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, that was an excellent showcase of how trusted digital identity can simplify customer onboarding while strengthening security and operational efficiency. With that, we will now quickly move forward into the very first panel discussion for today, which truly builds upon the ideas, the stories that we just witnessed, and explores how Aadhaar's verifiable credentials are helping reimagine the future of insurance. It is time to stitch those examples together into a conversation. Our first very panel titled How Aadhaar's Verifiable Credentials Through OVSC Are Rewiring Insurance. Some very, very important questions are going to be answered in that very panel. We bring to you a distinguished set of leaders, or should I say the creme de la creme of the industry, joining us to deliberate on this very important panel. So first up, to spearhead this conversation, I'd like to invite on stage, put your hands together for Mr. Lokesh Thakur, Deputy Director General, UIDAI. Let's put our hands together as he joins in. Well, can we have some more energy? Let's put our hands together for our panel members joining us in. A very warm welcome. Up next, joining us is Mr. Praveen Chaudhary, Director, Aadhaar Usage Division, UIDAI. Would like to welcome you back on stage. Also joining us up next is Mr. Praveen Samaria, Chief Technology Officer, MediAssist, joining us as well. Also inviting Mr. Rajiv Gupta, Group President, PB Fintech Limited, to join us for that discussion. And also joining us back is Mr. Pramod Kumar, Deputy Chief Digital Officer, LIC, for that very deliberation. The very first panel discussion for today, I'm sure a discussion we all are unanimously looking forward to. All right, over to you, sir.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. The first thing that I've been told by the organizers is keep it very sharp. So the intention is to keep it sharp. Let's quickly delve in very quickly. Every insurance transaction, every policy sold, every claim paid, first answers a fundamental question. The question is very simple: is this person who he claims to be? For decades, the industry has used documents such as Aadhaar or PAN or some other identity documents which can always be forged, miskeyed, misread, and more importantly, at times, leaked from files. In the recent past, UIDAI has rewired this entire thing with something called verified credentials through the OVSC framework. Today, anybody can become an OVSC, whether you are an insurer or any other TPA, etc., through which what will happen is that you will be able to verify a customer through his own data that comes to you through his Aadhaar app, with his consent recorded, and more importantly, the transaction is cryptographically certified and recorded. The whole idea of this particular conversation today, therefore, is to examine with the industry leaders for the insurance sector what journeys can be onboarded and what can make it better. Today we have with us the panelists who own these journeys at the national scale, and I would like to quickly introduce them to you because of the shortage of time. So to start with, we have Mr. Rajiv Gupta, who's the Group President of Policy Bazaar, and I'm personally thankful for him. At such a senior position, he has been able to give us his time. We are especially thankful to you. Also, I would like to request the hall for a round of applause for him because he's taken out time, more importantly, on his birthday. We also have Mr. Pramod Kumar, who's the Deputy Chief Digital Officer from LIC, one of the largest insurance company of the country. We have Mr. Praveen Samaria from MediAssist, who's the CTO. And lastly, our own member, who's Praveen Chaudhary, who's the Director, AU Division at UIDAI. Since there are too many Praveens, we'll stick to Praveen and Praveen Samaria. Okay. So, starting with the LIC. So, Pramod, where does Aadhaar VC? And you will turn this, see this term VC coming, and it is not video conference. It is basically verified credentials. Okay. So, how do you, as LIC, see Aadhaar verified credentials through the OVSC framework change the paradigm of traditional verification?
Well, many things I mentioned in the previous talk itself, and in earlier discussions which were happening. It's all about the confidence, convenience, consent, right? The whole story today across the entire digital ecosystem which we are trying to create or to present is how it makes the life very convenient for the user, for the consumers, how we get the consent built into it with the compliance requirements which is coming. Traditionally it has been, and with we being a very large player, most of us, our business is sourced through our tied agency channel, and the identity is still predominantly paper-based. That means you get the photocopies of your Aadhaar card, you get the PAN card, passport, these documents, right? And it brings their own set of challenges when you have the paper coming into your processes, right? The paper brings the limitations, the barriers which we all are aware, right? Along with the cost of maintaining the risk of compliance and all those. That's where with a verified credential coming into picture, which OVSC promises us, which we have been using, right? It's not, people might say we have been using eKYC, so how this is different? We have been we have been a UAKU for a longer time, right? And we have been using that. But understand the control which OVSC gives. It gives the power in the hands of the customer, or even for me, my agents, to establish the identities in a very seamless manner, in a consent-oriented manner, with the purpose limitation, data minimization. So with these, the journeys designed with this will help us to become more and more compliant with the privacy legislation which is going to come into effect, and when we are preparing for that. And certainly the issues which happens, as I mentioned in my previous this thing about the mismatch or the errors in your data capture. Insurance is all about identity, right? And any mistake there later on becomes a dispute, and then it's a very bad experience. So from the very first stage, a verified credential from a trusted anchor like UIDAI, when received and when processed digitally, is certainly going to make the entire process very seamless, very transparent. And of course, we just saw the presentation from UIDAI, Praveenji made about the capabilities which are there. So when I was discussing with Lokeshji, I told this is going to be a UPI moment for the identity, and it's going to be there everywhere. We all are experiencing it, right? With the Digi Yatra, we can see how convenient it has become. Because earlier I used to see, even standing in, people used to struggle to find it out, which document to present to the security, and then it's a different experience now. You just walk in, you get a grand welcome, the gate opens, you just go inside, right? Earlier we used to plan how much time it is going to take in the queue to get into the airport, right? So with this, and certainly with the vision which we have, insurance for all, and the targets which are there for ensuring a larger scale, we need such kind of enablement which is going to help the industry to scale faster, to scale in a very seamless manner, to onboard as many people as possible. Because the presentation was there, it's only less than 3% of the GDP we are there. And the possibilities are immense, the responsibilities are immense. And when we design solution using such capabilities, certainly we are in a much better position to offer that convenience which is very much required in today's environment.
Rajiv ji, you at Policy Bazaar see the entire market purchase funnel. And I think there is nobody more experienced in the insurance industry today in this hall compared to you. So what do you think are the major challenges which are facing the country? One, also, where do you think this identity friction that costs, it results in basically drop-offs for you, and what are the conversion rate it hits? And what does the VC journey, that is the verified credential journey, how does it change things for you at the point of sale?
Thank you, Lavkesh. Let me address one question at a time. I see, let's define the ecosystem in the country today. We are about 140 crore people, plus or minus few crores here and there. And a substantial number of people, let's say about 40-50 crore people, live below poverty line. There is also a large segment of people which are self-sufficient, and they know how to take insurance, or they are adequately covered, or they have enough money. But the biggest problem this country is facing today is those 70-80 crore people who are in the middle class and the lower middle class, where the biggest challenge this country is facing is financial literacy. While we are all talking about insurance for all by 2047, that's a far-fetched, goal at this point of time, as I see. So how do we create the financial literacy model in this country? I was talking to Ajay. Anandji, sorry, who has set up about 12 billion, outlets, 12 lakh outlets across the country. I think somewhere a collective effort by the government, private sector, everybody together will have to work towards simply creating a very simple module on understanding what is banking all about, what is insurance all about, what is savings all about. I think that's the biggest challenge the country is facing, number one. Number two, when it comes to financial services, there is a huge trust deficit, right, in the ecosystem. Not many people living in tier 3, tier 4 towns still, have that trust dealing with banks, dealing with, insurance players. And third, while we are priding in our young population today, let's remember that tomorrow we will have 50 crore senior citizens by 2047 when we are talking about Viksit Bharat. Imagine a situation, today's 40-year-olds are tomorrow's senior citizens. And 90% of the senior citizens today don't have a health insurance plan, don't have an idea how they are going to survive the next 30 years after they become senior citizens. So somewhere we are going to see a severe social impact on this country, particularly given the fact that this country doesn't have social security schemes. Now, to me, I see verifiable credentials as one of the revolutions like UPI. At the end of the day, when we want to scale businesses, every step in the process is obviously a delay for the customer, right? And today, customers want things to be handled in a very, so we deal with 2 million customers every day, and I can tell you, every error costs us, time and process delays. So verifiable credentials is certainly going to be one major step towards improving processes, towards improving, issuance of policies, towards being able to reach out to the segment which we are today, not seeing. So I believe that, at PB FinTech, we value this much greater because the number of customers we deal with, we are a marketplace, and we believe that the next phase of growth is going to come from tier 3, tier 4 towns. So clearly, this is a big advantage as far as we are concerned, and verifiable credentials is going to redefine. I would say it will be a next revolution like UPI.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving to you, Mr. Samaria, Praveen Samaria.
Yep.
Okay, from the point of sale we've just heard, let's move to the point of truth. Let's look at a hospital admission at 2 a.m. in the morning. You at MediAssist sit between insurance, hospitals, and the policyholder. At this stressful point, where do you think the identity challenges that you face today, specifically with respect to, say, cashless dispersals, etc., what will the VC journey, again, the verified credential journey, change for you at MediAssist?
It's an interesting question, given it is 2 a.m. Just think of or imagine a scenario where somebody is there in the hospital along with the patient, and now they have been asked for providing the e-card, which is the medical health card, and an identity proof. The guy is in an emergency, he would be having nothing. And then they have to call, scroll through the gallery, find how, from where, get a printout, give it to the desk, and then the guy would be again scanning that printout without even knowing whether it is a valid proof or not. Then it reaches to the TPA or the insurance company to eventually see, and they find it blur, and they raise a query to identify the person. This entire thing for something as basic as like identification of the person who is sitting in the hospital, and eventually maybe lying on the bed because he's in a very critical condition. So to avoid all that hassle, this is what is happening today, which is actually killing not just the experience of the member, but also the entire journey of the member with the insurance and the hospital. Because then hospital also says we have already submitted it to the insurer, and insurance company says that proof or the thing that you have submitted is not readable. This entire journey results into a friction at 2 a.m. for somebody. And now again think of it, at 2 a.m. the guy who is sitting, how good he would be in identifying the member who is getting admitted versus the e-card or the ID proof which has been submitted for them. Interestingly, one of the core problem statement that happens in insurance industry, not just healthcare but across, is impersonation of some of these, where the people share somebody's card to somebody else and scammers comes into the play. This entire piece becomes problem statement with the VC journey coming into the play. There is no longer a requirement of submitting a document itself, and hence the entire friction of identifying yourself goes away. It tells us, or especially to the insurance or the TPA, it already tells that this is a verified person with a presence in the hospital, because that's where the scanning of that QR and the facial recognition is happening. So that takes away the entire burden and makes it easier for the member who is getting admitted, for the family who is actually bringing them in, and for the insurer and the hospital to smoothen that process of at least the KYC from the documentation standpoint.
Okay, thank you. Praveen, to you. So since your presentation is already done, so let's look at slightly ahead, because you already defined the basic tenets of both OVSC and VC. So let's look at the digital identity. And one of the biggest challenges the digital identity always faces in the ecosystem is balancing trust, convenience, and privacy. How do you think the Aadhaar verified credentials achieve this balance, and what is the way forward?
Thank you, sir, for this very, very good question. So trust, convenience, and privacy. These are three facets which are not competing against each other, but must complement each other for a smooth journey from end to end in insurance sector or anywhere. So as far as trust is concerned, the verified credentials, before I move ahead, I'll just dwell upon what a verified credential is. This is an identity credentials issued by a trusted authority, in the instant case UIDAI, which is cryptographically verifiable anytime, anywhere. So that is the trust, and especially in the insurance sector, it is the trust deficit which the insurers want to bridge through various documents, which can be obviated through these verifiable credentials that the UIDAI gives to the individual, the resident, in the form of Aadhaar app, which is a wallet which holds these credentials. So the trust is embedded. Convenience, just imagine, as Mr. Samaria has said, that it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and then individual has to look for the physical copy, photocopy, scan document, upload it. How much of a friction at the critical moment? The Aadhaar VC provides that convenience at that critical time, that it can be shown and shared digitally, and the insurer or the verifier can verify it digitally. So it provides for convenience.
Okay, thanks Praveen. Let's moving back to you, Pramod. Basically, all products are priced, catering for a certain amount of risk. This risk could be age, identity, insurable interest, and now with the coming of DP, something called cost of compliance. Frauds will always surface years later. How do you think the verified credential-based journey will mitigate risk and possibly reduce the costs? You have only 1.5 minutes.
Okay, so I think we all are aware insurance is all about the quality of selections that happens, right? So post prospecting and onboarding, immediately comes the step of underwriting, right? And underwriting is based on the inputs that are presented to the underwriter. So that's where the quality of the information becomes very critical. And certainly when verifiable credentials are received from a trusted anchor, is going to help and ensure that particular tick mark on the quality of the data, the date of birth. Now with the modern technologies coming and the proof of presence which the platform also allows us. So the risk of what was presented or spoken about, like you have a ghost policy risk or you have an impersonation risk, right? So those kinds of instances also we have seen. Some extensive study was done by UIDAI on that for such kind of claims. So what happens, these things brings a cost pressure, and then the premium or the bonuses which are supposed to be there certainly gets impacted when you have such kind of issues happening into the process, right? So verifiable credentials help us mitigate these challenges in a very seamless, trusted manner. So I will leave it to that. The overall story around the fraud and risk prevention definitely is there. The cost pressures which any physical paper in the system will bring will certainly get eliminated, and the compliance part certainly gets lot reduced with an OVSC. We all are aware, right? Those who are a AUA, KUA partner, the kind of compliance you have to adhere to for the Aadhaar regulations are certainly very reduced when you have a platform which is consent driven, which is purpose driven, and with a data minimization approach. So I think these factors are certainly going to help in the quality of the data and certainly work on the cost aspect of it.
Thank you. Rajiv ji, sorry. So let's look at two very important issues for you. One is the nominee details, they get captured only once, and for you at the click. Thereafter, years later, is what the nominee surfaces, and you have a dispute. Also look at it, since you are at the policy level perspective, at VC as in itself as a shared infrastructure. So with these two questions in mind, how do you think VC could help in changing the claim outcomes and the journeys for everybody involved?
Good question, Lavkesh. I think this is one of the most overlooked opportunities in insurance. I was reading somewhere 9,000 crores of funds are lying unclaimed. In spite of having a nominee, not having a nominee, overall I think there is a big problem as far as unclaimed funds are concerned. Very often when you look at nomination forms, we just fill up the name, the relationship. And over a period of long times, because insurance policies survive for 10 years, 20 years, names undergo change, family structures undergo change, addresses undergo change, and all this creates a problem when actually the nominee loses a loved one and they want to come for claims, they may have to run around. Having been in the industry for over 3 decades, both banking and insurance, I myself have faced this problem when it came to my parents' nomination, and it took us about 6 months to do the documentation before we actually got the money. And imagine what happens to people, ordinary people who don't have contacts. How do they get things done? So it's a huge problem. Money remains unclaimed. I think verifiable credentials is certainly one step towards ensuring that nominee details go through that process in the beginning itself. So that when it comes to claims tomorrow, and that is when the reason you take a policy tomorrow is to protect your loved ones. So when there is a claim in future, this whole process goes through very smoothly, and that I believe is very crucial as we scale our businesses, as we move towards expanding insurance business, because today insurance is of course at a low single digit penetration. When we are talking about large numbers, we don't want this unclaimed amount to balloon further, and I think clearly I feel that every nominee should go through this verifiable credentials process, so that the entire process is smooth when it matters 15, 20 years later.
So I'll hold you to that once more and ask you, do you think there is a need for something like a CKYC for the insurance sector, so that once the detail is changed somewhere at some point of time, it automatically flows to the insurance sector also?
100%. I think CKYC is one of the biggest needs, for the insurance sector. And without that, it's impossible to handle volumes. I mean, for a company like us, which is an online platform, the kind of size of volumes we handle is huge, and CKYC certainly plays a very, very significant role in this, So I think clearly, as we move forward, both CKYC and verifiable credentials, which we're talking about, should be the right combo, in my opinion, to solve this problem, and to bring the processes more smooth.
I will just add this on the problem of unpaid claims, right? It's there because the insurance contracts by nature are a long-term contract. While people keep updating their contact details in the bank account, they don't take that much trouble to update the details into an insurance because they have to fill up a form, then attach the KYC document, then arrange it. That process of updating the mobile number and email ID has largely remained in that area of paper driven. Now with such kind of intervention of OVSC, we are planning to launch a drive, as I was saying. One of the initiatives we have already discussed to enable the customers to do a verifiable credential journey and get the contact details updated sitting at their residence. So this is certainly very much needed even in that area. So one is the identity part of it, which we are solving, and the other is the contactability part of it. That is equally important in an insurance journey.
Okay, Praveen Samaria ji, you did mention something about impersonation, etc. So let's take it one step further. So you have impersonation, you have card sharing, you have duplicate claims, and these are all persistent cost drivers in the health insurance. How much of an ID problem does Aadhaar verified credentials solve and bridge the gap towards bringing these down and also reduce the frauds?
I think one of the most cost-driving factors in insurance industry is the fraud. And interesting part is the more smarter insurance companies or TPAs are becoming, the fraudsters are becoming smarter. Right? And it's like so-and-so, like even MediAssist recorded something like 270 or 240 CR in last financial year, which they showcased as or were able to identify as fraud. The last financial year, which is 2025-26, happens to be almost a double of the number, which is like 540 CR is what we were able to save. But eventually, from where does this entire money comes from? This is actually some genuine buyer or the insured person who has paid for a premium for underwriting that particular risk. So the fraud, however, majorly in the healthcare domain, is driven by some scamsters picking up some identity, working out with either in hands and gloves with hospitals or hands and gloves with other entities, including sometime insured. But impersonation becomes the core of it, because if you don't have an identity which is insured, you won't be able to proceed further. From an industry study, it is around 10 to 15% of the time when the impersonation actually occurs and the insured would be somehow involved in it. But overall, 30 to 35% of the overall volume which is there is categorized as some sort of identity breach which happened and used as part of those frauds. All in all, if the identity is secured or trusted, the chances of fraud happening would go down. So it's too early for me to comment how and what numbers we would be able to save with it. But for sure, what we are eradicating as a step from the entire journey is you no longer have any point where somebody else can get hold of your identity, hand it over, and then it becomes part of the scamsters. Secondly, in terms of the way impersonation is handled today, this journey allows us to get the credentials rather the name, DOB and the required data, then getting that Aadhaar card or Aadhaar number which can be misused. So all in all, it's impersonation is among one of the top drivers, sometime directly but mostly indirectly, resulting into the leakage, eventually making somebody else pay the premium higher than it is supposed to be.
So with Sameerji threatening me to get me off the stage quickly, what I will quickly do is, while I'll request you guys to think of a question before I leave the stage, from the panelists of course, I will quickly sum up what I have just quickly noted down. So what comes out from this panel discussion are just three very important threads. The first being, identity friction today in the digital world is not a back office issue anymore. It results and decides your conversion, your cost of policy, and also your claims experience. Secondly, the Aadhaar verified credentials move insurance from collecting documents to verifying cryptographic truth, with the resident and not the back office in control. I think that is the most significant achievement of this particular verified credentials. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, the framework is live, the regulations are notified, the Aadhaar app has been launched. The OVSE registrations are open, there is a stall outside. The entities in this room that move first, think ahead, and will look at the possibilities are the ones who will define the trust standard, and rest of the industry will follow. Because as during discussion that came out the other day with the laudable panelists that we have, today with this, what is limited is our imagination, not the possibilities. Thank you, gentlemen. And I must thank, sir.
I think truly appreciate what Aadhaar is doing. It's today I think you are connecting with corporates, inviting them to come. I would earnestly request every corporate present here to use this opportunity before they start queuing up. So today there is an opportunity clearly, and thanks to Aadhaar for proactively approaching corporates to have this done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to sincerely thank all the panelists for taking time to be here, and most importantly, even on your birthday, sir. Thank you very much. I wish we could cut a cake for you here, sir. Thank you so much.
Well, can we have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, one more time? Well, I think individually you all brought some distinct lengths to the table, but together there was truly an impactful discussion. Thank you once again. With that, inviting on stage Mr. Sameer Singh Jaini to felicitate all our leaders on stage with our token of gratitude. Well, some very important questions answered right there on how verifiable credentials are reducing friction across underwriting and claims. Let's have all the felicitations on stage, please. Another important questions answered right there. How can they improve customer experience while ensuring privacy and security? And not just that, but how can they really help build a simpler, safer, and more affordable insurance ecosystem? Well, stay glued to your seats, because up next, ladies and gentlemen, we will quickly turbocharge into our next segment, which is a fireside chat, where we will switch gears into another important subject on the future of health insurance, from protection to prevention. So stay with us. I do see a lot of people standing behind. You can join us at the front seats, and let's quickly dive into our next discussion. Thank you to all our leaders once again for joining us in. Let's give them a round of applause again. Thank you.